San Francisco had at least 2 crushing blows in the Super Bowl. Obviously, losing isn't ideal, but perhaps more damaging is a long-term injury sustained by Dre Greenlaw. While attempting to run on the field, he tore his Achilles, leaving it up to Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles and Oren Burks to fill in the rest of the game. The drop-off was noticeable, but luckily for the Niners, he had successful surgery on the 15th. More encouraging is the fact that Aaron Rodgers returned to practice only 77 days after tearing his. This isn't usually the case, however, with the Cleveland Clinic stating it usually takes between 4 to 6 months to have a full recovery, and perhaps longer for some high-impact sports, meaning it's more than feasible Dre Greenlaw misses the start of the season. So many have started to look around for potential replacements. I for one wouldn't mind seeing San Francisco draft a backer, especially in the later rounds, but they also have a player on the roster they compare to Dre Greenlaw, Dee Winters. Selected in the 6th round of last year's draft, he was blistering fast, running his 40-yard dash in 4.49 seconds. And a big reason you didn't see much out of him is Kyle Shanahan's philosophy when it comes out to starting rookies, especially in big-time moments. He just won't do it unless he's absolutely forced. Perhaps the best example of this is when he started Logan Ryan over Jair Brown in the playoff game, despite Brown being clearly the better player. So when I look at a guy like Dee Winters, I can definitely see Kyle Shanahan looking at him and seeing the potential, but not wanting to put too much on him in hopes of him eventually developing into a guy like maybe Azeez Al-Shaair. So in this video, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into Dee Winters' production this year and his career up to this point to see if he can actually replace Dre Greenlaw to start the season. Starting out with week 18, we can see Dee Winters right in the middle of the field. And he's just reading Carson Wentz all the way, and as soon as he sees him run, he triggers and helps bring him down for a minimal gain. To take the next step, I believe Dee Winters is probably going to benefit from an offseason in an NFL locker room. There was just too many times on the field I saw him getting tied up in blocks, and while it's an offensive lineman, he needs to get off these much quicker. That's not me bashing on Dee Winters either. As a 6th round rookie, you have to expect him to need some refinement, and we've already seen a guy like Fred Warner do it successfully. Bouncing back now to week 15, we get to see Dee Winters in coverage, and it's a sight to behold. Thanks to his speed, he's able to plaster all over this tight end. And then finally, when Kyler Murray does decide to go up to try to throw this one, he gets right in his face to cause an errant throw. This was basically a perfect play by Dee Winters. Even when he's making bad plays, quote unquote, he's often making the right read. Here, for example, Robert Beal Jr. isn't supposed to take that running back, but rather have outside contain. Nonetheless, Dee Winters does a nice job trying to chase down Kyler Murray. The biggest rookie mistake was probably diving towards him when he did have defensive help towards the bottom of the screen. And I know he has lead blockers, but I think if Dee Winters stayed on his feet, he could have chased this down and had less of a gain. On the same drive, with San Francisco playing pretty soft coverage because it's the end of the game, they're not trying to give up anything too deep, I thought Dee Winters did a nice job of coming up and tackling the running back inside the playing field to keep the clock running. Often, when Dee Winters found the field, it was when the other team was trailing, so we often saw passes coming his direction. I did like how he broke on passes like this one to the tight end and even broke it up. However, Dee Winters needs to mix this aggression with caution, especially when he's making open field tackles. Take this dump off to the running back. Winters does a great job of identifying the play and triggering. He just struggles to break down and make the open field tackle, which is something he definitely needs to continue to improve on. Overall, watching Dee Winters, I saw a linebacker who could flow sideline to sideline, but did have struggles specifically on wrapping up open ball carriers. In addition to that, I believe Dee Winters entered the NFL a little bit undersized, so by adding mass, I think he should be better at taking on blockers in the open field. So now with Winters' first year under wrap, I want to give a deeper insight into the player Winters is. He was born in Burton, Texas, and he was one of the best athletes in the entire state. During his high school days, Winters didn't actually play linebacker. He played wide receiver and safety. He was a 3-star recruit and ranked as the 87th best player in Texas. He had offers from TCU, Arkansas, Northwestern, Arizona State, and Texas Tech. Ultimately, he did decide to commit to TCU. And although he was recruited to play safety, during his freshman year, he switched to linebacker. And as a true freshman, he appeared in 11 games, 2 of which he started. He posted 28 tackles this year and a sack. As a sophomore in 2020, he started in all 10 games, had 65 tackles, 9.5 for loss, 2 sacks, 2 pass breakups, and then the following year in 2021, he led his team with 74 tackles, 5 for loss with 1 sack, including intercepting 2 passes. As a senior in 2022, he accumulated 79 tackles, 14.5 for loss, 7.5 sacks, as well as an interception, ran back for a touchdown. After this stellar season, Winters went on to the combine to absolutely light it up. He ran his 10-yard split in 1.56 seconds and his 40-yard dash, as I mentioned, in 4.49 seconds. When you compare this to a guy like Fred Warner, he runs his 40-yard dash in 4.64 seconds, but he's right there with the 10-yard split of 1.55 seconds. I bring this up to highlight how D. Winters is the prototypical athlete San Francisco is looking for at the linebacker position. In addition to that, he has great coverage skills thanks to his time as a safety in high school. That wasn't the only reason San Francisco drafted him though. They also saw some other strengths, including he played both inside and outside backer at his time at TCU. In addition to that, he read the play extremely well. Like I highlighted in his pro time, he's often making the right decision. He also scrapes and stalks at a running back pace. In addition to that, when he reads the play, he doesn't hesitate to trigger. He just goes for it. But with all those positives mentioned, there were still weaknesses on Winters' film, and that was a big reason why he slid into the 6th round. Perhaps the biggest thing for Winters is he runs on the smaller side for a backer, so he definitely needs to put on weight to be successful in the NFL. He also was a little bit passive in taking on blocks and needs to play with a little bit more urgency. Regardless of these concerns, however, no matter which way San Francisco looked at D. Winters, they just kept seeing Dre Greenlaw 2.0, so they drafted him in the 6th round with pick 39. Which brings us back to present day. D. Winters now is looking at an opportunity to potentially start for San Francisco next year, especially if Dre Greenlaw isn't healthy. And he has one of the best linebacker coaches in the entire league in Johnny Hollins. So while many people are looking outside of the building for a potential replacement for Greenlaw, there might be one inside the building. But even with that being said, I don't think it's a bad idea for San Francisco to look maybe in free agency or even look through the draft for another replacement for Dre Greenlaw. But the key thing here is San Francisco shouldn't feel like they need to draft someone or need to sign someone. If the fit isn't right, I don't think they need to bring in another backer. I also just don't want to see a linebacker selected that early. I think San Francisco has much bigger areas of concern, specifically their offensive line, before drafting a backer. In addition to that, San Francisco has shown the ability to develop later round picks, and they could do that again in this draft by picking up a guy like Shad Banks Jr., who's exactly their athletic profile they desire. He comes in at 6'1", weighing 250 pounds, but this is the kicker. He runs his 40-yard dash in 4.45 seconds. But ultimately, these are just some of my thoughts on how to replace Dre Greenlaw, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton to me if you liked and subscribed, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.